I recently have gone back to well, not gone back to, but I offered to like provide feedback on people's scripts. My
Hmm.
reviewers sending me that, and I was kind of I was trepidatious about is that I don't know if that's a word, trepidatious about it. Because you ever one thing realize about being a script reader, it's
Right.
it's I mean it's torture sometimes. It matters. There's tiers. If you're reading for like a production company or an agency, these are scripts that writers who are actually good enough to pass that first bar to get
Yeah.
the recognition of an agent or a manager or at least someone to vouch for them to send them into the industry.
Hmm.
If you're reading for a script competition, it really varies. There's good stuff, there's bad
It can
stuff.
vary. Yep.
But there's if you're right, I work for a couple of feedback services, or just online
Right.
feedback services. Anyone can submit their work, where you get the rankest of rankest amateurs. Some experienced
Right.
people, but a lot of people just like their very first time, have no idea what they're
Yep.
doing, have no idea
Yep.
what a script looks like. The format's all wrong. I got a lot of Word docs in Times New Roman
Oh
font with
no.
everything flush left. I just wanted to play drywall roulette. If you know what that means. Drywall
No, what is
roulette
that?
is like that's from the show
Oh, you
Wings.
just throw it.
No, it's from the show Wings. You remember the show Wings?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, yeah,
so there's this one episode where Thomas Hayden Church, the guy from Sideways, he plays a game
yeah.
called Drywall Roulette, where you lower your head and just run full speed, and slam your head through the drywall. And there's a 1 in 6 chance of hitting a stud and breaking your neck. That's why it's called Drywall Roulette. And
Oh
that's
my
that's
God.
that's how bad these scripts. Halfway through, I just wanted to lower my head and ram it through the drywall.
Blast off! Ooh, stud.
I want to tell you about the worst spec screenplays I've ever read. Some of
Oh
the worst.
yes, I would love
So
to.
a few years out of film school, I was working for this one online feedback services that get the absolute amateurs. And I think I mentioned it before on this channel. This is a service that was only paying me $25 a script. And I was putting
Oh,
4 or 5 hours of work into every script. So it was below minimum
that
wage.
yeah.
So working for this company, the phrase, "this is the worst thing I've ever read," lost all meaning. Because I would get a script. I would say, "This is the worst thing I have ever read." Then the next one would show up. And
Right.
I'm not saying that each one was worse than the last. I'm saying they were
Right.
all the worst thing I've
The
ever
worst
read.
thing you ever
Every single
read.
one was the worst thing I've ever read in their own specific way. Like I said, all bad scripts are bad in their own way. They were all the worst script ever read.
Right.
Like I remember this one. This guy was. I also think I've mentioned this on this channel. This guy was attempting to write like a Day After Tomorrow ripoff, where basically the
Uh-huh.
world is ending. Yeah,
Apocalyptic.
apocalyptic. And there was
Post-apocalyptic.
and this guy literally put like a $10 million cataclysm on every single page. Like every page, like this page 10, there was an earthquake. Page 11, there was a
Right.
tidal wave. Page
Right.
12, there was a blizzard. Like every
Right.
single page. And I was like, my feedback, how to write written feedback to this guy. It says, "You have written a ridiculous thing. This thing could
Right.
not possibly be made for $500 million. Not that
Right.
anyone would, because everything else was terrible. The dialogue was terrible. The characters were terrible. The plot was terrible. And
Oh
things
no. Yeah.
this script, I don't know, it lacked a grade school level of scientific knowledge. Because there's one scene where the sun in the sky shatters and the
Oh my
pieces
gosh.
fall to the earth. So the sun is like
Oh
a
my gosh.
mirror, and pieces of
It's
the
a mirror, yeah.
sun are falling to the earth. I'm like, do you know what the sun is? It doesn't work. It's not like a
crazy.
cartoon. It doesn't. That's not what the
Right.
sun isn't made of glass. But the most ridiculous thing, thing that
Right.
blows my mind about this story. Okay, at a certain point in the story, okay, half of planet Earth is gone. It's just destroyed. Half of the entire sphere of Earth
Right.
is gone in space. The other
Right,
half
right.
is frozen solid at nearly absolute zero.
Oh my
Despite
gosh.
this, somehow the Wi-Fi still works. They still have Wi-Fi service. So they go, "Oh, let's
Yeah.
go online, see what people are tweeting about the apocalypse." Yeah, I don't want to be too harsh on amateurs because, Everyone starts somewhere, and they're just dreamers.
Yeah,
But
they're growing. Everyone's on their own journey.
but out of all these scripts, after always one saying this is the worst thing I've ever read, the next one comes, this is the worst thing I've ever read. I finally found it. I found the king turd of bad screenplays. I found the worst spec script ever written. It is still the undisputed champion of bad spec scripts to this day. And it is
gosh.
And it's titled Kung Fu George in the Hood. Not the.
The writer's gonna
THA, the Hood. Kung Fu George in the Hood. But that title is more ridiculous than you think. Because there is no character in that script named Kung Fu George.
Oh, this is a mystery.
No. What this guy did, you won't believe what this guy did. Okay, so he wanted Ice Cube to play the main character, right?
Right.
So he names the main character Ice Cube.
Oh, amazing!
It's the dialogue. It's
Amazing,
Ice Cube in the script. Like he wanted Lucy Liu to play the villain, so he named the villain Lucy Liu, and he spelled it wrong too. He spelled it L-U-E instead of L-I-U.
Right.
Usually, when I'm reading for a feedback service, you have to read the whole script. I mean, even if it's just terrible, even if it's absolute torture, read it to the end in case you need to comment on the conclusion. This was the only time where, after 10 pages into the script, I just quit. I'm not going to read a single word of this, because if I kept reading any longer, blood would have shot out of my eye from the aneurysm of reading, because it didn't even make sense. It didn't even make sense. It was unreadable. It was the most bizarre use of grammar I've ever seen. I don't know if it was the case of someone who's just, not native English speaker and they're trying to fake it, but it was like the most bizarre use of grammar, like the most bizarre use of punctuation I've ever seen. And the dialogue most of the time didn't make any sense, because I guess he was when you're sometimes when you're trying to affect a certain dialect or accent in dialogue, you intentionally misspell words. I guess this guy was going for a really street version of Ice Cube. So so the dialogue, it didn't make any sense. It was just like, nah, won, jigga, hina, he, wado. It's like, what are you trying to say, Ice Cube? It was on an old hard drive on my old laptop, and it was like, it was treasured, the worst screenplay ever written. That laptop died.
Oh my gosh.
That laptop died. I thought I was lost to the world. And I was like,
post this video, you're going to meet the writer. Maybe he's going to come in. He's your fan.
But yesterday I was thinking about this, and I remembered emails are forever. You send an email, it remains locked in your history forever. I remembered that after reading this, I sent the email as an attachment to someone else saying, you got to check out this piece of crap script. So I went into my email over 12 years back in my history. I found it. It was still there. It was still attached. I got it back. I once again have the worst screenplay ever written.
Oh my gosh.
Mike,
now I'm curious.
Mike, I would like to ask you, would you like to join me in reading the worst screenplay ever made?
Yeah, sure. I feel like I'm going to like this script. Now I'm excited. Yeah.
But we're out of time, and we can't do this. We can't do that now. We have to tune in next time to hear me and Mike Thai read the worst spec screenplay ever written. Because screenwriting rule number 22, always leave people wanting more.